Coming your way in just moments, QCTV Sports presents tonight girls high school gymnastics. We have Blaine and Andover taking on Champlin Park here as the Champlin Park High School. I'm Joe Rulin, joined along with one of the most decorated Gopher gymnasts in the history of Minnesota University Gymnastics, and that being Lexi Berglund Rambler, a guest star joining us here. And Lexi, many questions coming from you throughout this broadcast, but what do you expect from both of these teams tonight?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to be a part of this matchup tonight. You know, some of these athletes kind of high school season, they have a few months of competing underneath their belt. So some of the athletes should have a little bit more confidence kind of coming in and, you know, really just seeing that team dynamic kind of grow with each of the teams. They will be kind of heading into sectionals and some bigger meets later on, so kind of heading towards more of that peak performance, I would say.
Absolutely, as if they're just a month away from the state tournament. Meanwhile, the number 21 ranked team in the state for Class 2A is Blaine. Andover having themselves a nice season. Kind of two different teams, as you've got a Champlin Park team kind of young.
Yeah, so Champlin Park is a younger team. They're definitely kind of building their skills and some of that development, but really excited to see all the energy that they bring tonight.
Hey, and of course with Blaine too, you're looking at a squad with some experience, but everyone trying to get a little stronger, a little bit more confident with each of the routines as they wind down here tonight. And we get that for you here on QCTV. Joe Rulin and the Lexi Rambler coming your way next on QCTV. Well, good evening. Good evening. Welcome from Champlin Park High School. Joe Rulin along with Lexi Rambler as we get ready for tonight's meet between Blaine and Andover. That's right, Blaine and Andover taking on Champlin Park, the Rebels. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit while the girls are getting their warm-up on, and we will take a look at Blaine Andover on the bars. That will be the first event. We get a look at. The second will be the vault as well for Champlin Park. But let's talk a little bit about the head coaches and head coach for Champlin Park, John. A little bit of experience as a head coach.
Just a little.
27 years for John as the head coach, and also in the Hall of Fame. So he kind of brings some valuable experience to the program.
A ton of experience, I'd say. I mean, he's seen it all probably from all the different levels that kind of come to high school gymnastics, and provides so much knowledge, I would say, just the overall sport as well as in high school gymnastics. And,
you know, he has a very young team coming out, just a couple of seniors, a lot of freshmen. What do you want to hear as a gymnast yourself at this point before, if you're at, say, 8th grade, 9th grade, what type of reassurance or what would be positive for you as a gymnast?
Yeah, I feel like what's so unique about gymnastics is all the athletes are different. And, you know, like you just mentioned, you have some seniors and you have some you know, individuals that are going to be pretty new to this as well. And so there's going to be a variety of nerves of, you know, some girls, this is their, you know, towards the end of potentially their career. And so they're nervous because they want to do so well. And then you have other individuals that are like, oh my gosh, you know, this is my first season. I'm so nervous. And so I think really it's just about, you know, having fun and just being in the moment, enjoying flying through the air. I mean, I feel like that's what gymnastics is about. And so I think just some of those reminders. And
so what's your mindset? So you got bars coming up first. So when you had bars first as a gymnast, and of course, you're a 3-time Big Ten Gymnast of the Year, What's your mindset like about now as you're getting ready to start that meet and you've gone through your practices and repetition?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is really just getting your mindset right before you're about to go. So this warm up is really just to get warm. If you fall, it's okay.
Yeah.
it's not competing. It's just really about getting warm, feeling the equipment again, and getting your head right, and then just being with your team and getting everybody else excited and ready and being the present.
And hey, of course, we got head coach also is Ashley Walker. Excuse me, Ashley, and she is at Blaine. She's now in her 7th season. Is Ashley, and she's been doing a pretty impressive job. She feels pretty confident about the squad she has this year.
Yeah, and she was also a gymnast, correct?
Yes,
so
from
she
Anoka.
brings a lot of value just being in the sport as well. Has literally been in these athletes' shoes and can provide some of that expertise into what they could be feeling like as well.
Yeah, in her 7th season, and she's, Ashley Howard, very confident with this team that she has. She's, excited about, Grace Vassell is one of them that she's excited about. Olivia Retram is another. And so many of the athletes she's had a chance to work with over the years. And excited because they're currently ranked number 21 in the state for Class 2A. But they also have a very, very challenging section in Forest Lake coming out. And along with Anoka, who's off to a great season. I think they're ranked currently number 10 in Class 2A. About 4 or 5 teams. Cambridge is another one that will challenge. And certainly a competitive section. So, for her, it's about getting out there. They're 5-1. Top team, one of the top teams in their conference, in the Northwest Suburban Conference. So I think this is a great level set time as we get ready, and we're underway here on the bars right away out of the gate. So get you set here, and my bad. The gate is starting here on the beam, or the bars rather, here it is, Peyton Kazarsnik. Kazarsnik gets her first competition through. Complete. We're going to get the judging, also the scores, and there as a result we'll get you updated there, so they get a look. Meanwhile, you may see some
really nice
here.
Dismount for her there.
Yeah, a good look there. Next up on the bars is going to be Abby Bloomquist. Abby Bloomquist on the bars. And she'll get set here as the judges have completed the scoring. If we get a look, we'll share that with you. We'll also provide you a summary, at the end of each rotation, total scores and team scores, as well as we progress. So looking forward to bringing you this gymnastic meet here from Champlin Park, waiting for the nod to proceed. After Kozarik just finished, Peyton, now Abby Bloomquist steps up. Abby Bloomquist with the bars this year, 7.05 as her average score.
And for those of you who are kind of newer to the sport and kind of tuning in, how gymnastics is kind of judged. So there's a certain amount of requirements that these athletes need to kind of compete. And so when they get those requirements, then that adds to their kind of start value is what we say. And then from there, if they have, some things that the judges are looking for, if there's bent legs or they take a step on their dismount, that's called execution. So they deduct that from then the start value. So, typically in gymnastics, like a perfect score, if somebody has all of their requirements would be a 10.0, but some of these athletes may not have all of those. So they could be starting from, a 9.0 or a 9.5, and then the execution gets deducted from there as well. So you'll see a variety of that tonight. So a variety of scores as well.
Bloomquist now steps up and begins her routine. And you see, it was a 6.25, by the way, for Kazarik. And there
really
on the
nice
dismount,
dismount.
a good land.
Yes. was a beautiful landing, and when she landed, her chest was up. That's some of the things that the judges look for. If you watch her landing as well, her feet don't move. We would call that a stick. And so I'm sure she's very excited and happy about that routine.
Great job there. As in the books and completed. Is it kind of great to have that underneath you, that first rotation, or
Yes.
what's your thought? If it's good.
It's the first routine, yes. You're like, oh, okay, I can breathe a little bit.
And then you probably also get kind of an idea of how they're going to judge or score you, correct?
Yes.
By that first one. Mm-hmm. And did you prefer to go first on events, or?
It depended, I would say. Kind of when I was in college, I was typically towards the end of the lineup, so I had to try to remember, how do I stay warm, kind of how do I cheer on my teammates, but also get ready to compete. And there's a lot of different kind of techniques that these athletes would be going through. So even first up, right, they just competed, or they just did their warm-up, they're warm, they're ready to go. They have to remember to catch their breath before they compete.
Jada Bonson is now on the bars. Again, and there's all the skill requirements that they have to complete.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing on the bars, too, is watching the athletes. You want them to move through the entire routine. So if they stop, that could potentially be an execution, deduction. There's a ton of things that the judges are looking for. It's definitely a skill to be a judge.
Wow. Abby Blomkus, by the way, scored a 7.15 on her bars routine, and we'll get an up-to-date on Bonson. Is anything that jumped out with you on technique from her on her delivery of her routine?
Yeah, I think there was just a lot of swinging. I mean, I think that's the fun part of bars, right? Being able to just swing and go around. I think one thing that I've been seeing kind of consistently here from the team is their dismounts their chests are way up, which is kind of a hard thing to end up after you finish your dismount, your chest is up and in a good position. And so that can be something that teams struggle with, but they seem to be, obviously they work on it in the gym, so it's showing kind of when they're competing here too.
No, absolutely. Legs are probably the least factor when it comes to the bars, correct?
Correct, but you still got to lift them up too.
Doggone it. See, that wouldn't be mine. So underway. There's Bonson.
Really nice clear hip there.
Excuse me, Retrum here on the bars as Bonson had just completed. Olivia, a gymnast. Certainly Ashley, the head coach, is very high on and had some energy on that land. And good execution there.
Yeah, she really flowed throughout that entire bar routine. Her leg form was really clean as well, which is always a great thing to see that impacts the execution that the judges would be looking for as well.
She's been averaging, her average on the season, 8.45. Very impressive when it comes to the bars and that look there. And we'll get that score. We haven't received the previous score just yet from Bonson, and then the final one on the bars will be Grace Vassell.
And typically something that you'll see kind of as kind of coaches create lineups, typically the difficulty will actually, or your more seasoned competitors, I would say, are kind of towards the end of the lineup too. So it's kind of a strategy that some coaches can use to kind of, in hope, build the score as they go.
So this will be the score for Olivia, but they didn't fan it our way just yet. Oh, there it is, 7.85. And we're going to look at Vassell on the bars.
She's having some really clean leg form. Definitely something that we haven't seen, which is a cast handstand and a giant swing, which is really great to see here in high school gymnastics and from this team.
Looked like a strong landing.
Yes.
One of the best in overall performance.
A really clean leg form you can see here. Beautiful giants. And then into her layout dismount. So just a little step there, so that's something that the judges would take a peek at. But overall, a really clean and solid routine for this team.
So is that like a 2/10 point deduction?
For like
Or-
a step on that?
Correct.
It kind of depends on the size. So I would say that one would probably be maybe a 10 to 2/10. The judges kind of look at that and they kind of compare and whatnot.
So the bars is done, and they're moved now to varsity as we're going to switch now, Max, to the vault as they're doing some warm-ups on the vault. And they've just completed their final. Right, an 8.7 for Grace on the bars. 8.7 for Grace on the bars, very impressive. So finishing their warm-ups, and your thought with Blaine. Hey, Blaine Andover scored a 137. Scored a 137.8, which was their second highest ever in the history of the school during a meet earlier this year. So that's what really gets Ashley Howard excited about the potential of the squad. So.
Yeah, and ultimately, if you kind of break that down into individual scores, that's going to be roughly about an 8.5 for each of the routines. So that's a really great score for athletes that they definitely be looking for and to be able to execute on that during the performance.
Coach John Wynias had mentioned, hey, the team is a group of young, enthusiastic gymnasts, 14, 2 seniors, 2 sophomores, and 8 freshmen as well. One of the better freshmen he identified as Keely Koonsman, and we'll see her coming up here on this vault, which
So looking at some of our bar results, overall good scores for these athletes. Something to kind of note when you're looking at, how do these, gymnastics kind of count, event scores or kind of overall team scores as well. So ultimately they'll put up 5 scores and then they get the opportunity to drop the lowest score. So in this sense, they will drop that 6.25 and then they'll total up the high or the higher scores that they have to overall get their event team score. Those then team scores all get added from their vault team score, their bar team score, beam team score, and then their floor team score to then have the overall team score.
so we're getting set here. First run on vault. I believe that was first one going on that, and they'll get 2 opportunities on the vault. Peyton. Excuse me, that was Sophie who made that first run, Sophia. Kyra Lakova. As we both kind of get familiar with both of these teams.
So she did a half on, half off in that vault.
Next up is Ophelia Shoemaker. Gives a push there and some good effort.
And vault takes a lot of power, I would say. You're running down the runway, you're hitting the springboard, you're trying to have the right angle on the table, kind of bounce off the table in a sense, block off, do something in the air, whether that's a twist or a flip, and then also try to find the landing as well. So there's a lot that goes into the vault, and it ultimately happens in a blink of an eye.
Chelsea Young approaches here, the freshman.
Really nice controlled landing on there.
It is, and my understanding is not what's considered kind of a skill level for the requirement, at least for the vault, is my understanding here with high school.
Yeah, so ultimately, these athletes can kind of select a vault, and then they ultimately compete that. And so then that vault, depending on the difficulty, impacts the start value, and then execution gets deducted from there. So can be a little bit a vary of scoring as well.
Keely Koonsman approaches off just to mark a bit on the land. And, you know, what are you saying consistently from the Rebels here so far on the vault?
Yeah, so far, definitely a lot of power, I would say. They're definitely running in towards the vault, you know, attacking the vault, and then really looking for those landings as well.
Get you the scores as they approach here. And now the final is the senior, Teresa Ong, the captain of this Rebels gymnastic team. Again, they'll go through 2 rotations.
So she actually did a half on, half off as well. So these individuals.
So it was Chelsea Young, and I apologize because I was jumping ahead. That was just the third. And
like I said, it can happen in a blink of an eye. These vaults go quick. So ultimately, each of these athletes get 2 vaults. So they can do the same vault, you know, they can try it again, or they can try a different vault. Very nice as well. As you can see, she just took that little bit of a step at the end there. Judges are looking for kind of amplitude off of the vault table.
Approaching, you know, the jump is such a critical element, it seems, you know, being able to square up on it.
Yes. Yes, there's a lot that goes into each of these events, but vault is really about a lot of power and hitting the right angles on the vault table.
Good. I believe that was Keely Koonsman, perhaps, making her second. Was that her second vault? Or is that her first?
I believe that was her second vault. Oh, that was her first vault. But also, athletes don't have to do both vaults as well. So if they do their first vault and they're like, "Hey, I like that score," they don't have to. They don't have to do another vault as well. So
it's like me on the golf course. Maybe I need a mulligan, but hit it again. We go now with Teresa Ong. This time it truly is Teresa Ong, the senior captain, as she approaches.
Very nice vault there as well. Again, she's going half on and then half kind of as she's coming off of the vault too.
And she's going to take another vault opportunity here. Number 1 team in Class 2A, by the way, this year, New Prague, followed by Cretin, Durham Hall, Lakeville South, and Hopkins. Cambridge is number 5. Again, a team that Blaine and Andover will have to contend with in the section. Now the approach and the second for Ong.
She had a lot of power in that one. As you did see, she took a little bit bigger step than her first one. But it's always great to see athletes having a lot of power in these, you know, in their performances. Then they just have to learn how to control it, which can be tricky as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, I believe they are through with the vault, which means rotation number 1 is complete. And we're going to do this. We're going to tabulate some of the scores and come back with those updates and step away for just a couple minutes and more. Girls high school gymnastics coming your way here on QCTV.
Hi, my name is Rachel Bonesock. I am the co-founder and executive director of Northern Stars Center for the Performing Arts. We are a performing arts center that brings you theater, dance, and music year-round with all ages and all abilities. If you are 4 to 104, we welcome you. We are a big family at Northern Stars, and we love to have everybody in the community support and be a part of what we have available for everyone. We are always looking for volunteers. We run on volunteer support at Northern Stars. So if you're interested in volunteering for anything, any of our events that are upcoming, we do theater, dance, and music. And we have a large event center that we hire artists, professional artists to come in and entertain the community as well as our theater. We would love to have you join us. You can email me at Rachel@NorthernStars with a Z, Rachel@northernstars.org, or you can give us a call at 612-326-6158. Check out our website. We have a lot going on, northernstars.org. Thank you.
Getting ready for the second rotation. Thanks for joining us on Thursday night here on QCTV. We also have some high school wrestling going on as well. Basketball tomorrow night as Centennial visits Andover High School, and ready with that. So, but your thoughts, Lexi, here on what you saw from the bars and also when it came to the vault?
Yeah, overall, I would say, bars starting off was a pretty solid event. One thing to highlight, too, we haven't had any falls, which is really great. A fall is one of the biggest deductions kind of within gymnastics here, and neither team has had one of those. So I'm sure these teams have a lot of energy kind of heading into their next events here. Again, bars, we had some really good swinging, really good, landings, and kind of same thing on vault. We also had they definitely had a lot of power, so maybe a few little steps here and there. But overall, again, I'm sure these teams are excited to jump into their next events.
Hey, many of them out listening, interviewing areas. I know when Lexi arrived and we went down on the floor, she immediately had a request for, can you get some pictures with you after this meet? And the team certainly want to do that. The reason is, hey, it's just your accomplishments, Lexi, are just phenomenal. And that includes 28 All-American honors, 3-time Big Ten gymnast. One of them I really think is just outstanding is that AAI award and the recipient. And for those of you unfamiliar with that gymnastic world, and what they're doing is they're doing some warm-ups here before we begin that set for the vault. But the AAI award is equivalent to the Heisman Award as compared to in football. That's amazing. That is astounding. Academic and athletics and the achievements and everything else are just astounding. Congratulations. And I just think, wow, what was that like, receiving that award?
Oh, gosh. My overall gymnastics experience is just near and dear to my heart. I would say I didn't do it by myself, too. I had a family that supported me, unconditionally through thick and thin and all the way through. So beyond grateful with that. I also had great coaches and great mentors and great teammates to do it all with that as well. So definitely an experience that I hold very near and dear to my heart, but it's always so fun to get back in these types of environments as well and see other gymnasts be able to kind of share the love of the sport of gymnastics. It's a really cool sport, and I think what's so great about high school gymnastics is there's all different levels. There's some athletes that have been doing this for years, and there's also some athletes that are trying it for their first year, which again is just really exciting to see the sport of gymnastics continue to grow throughout all the years.
Hey, and let's not forget about also the Rambler, right? And that's not just what your husband calls you, because I call my better half the Ness, as in the greatness and all of that. But the Ramblers, it's that skill that was named after you, and competing in the JO Code points. Talk to me how you came about with that, with that skill and how that came about?
Yeah, that was ultimately, I was in the gym and my coach said we were working on a skill and he says, try it with a half. I said, okay, sure. So it's on the bars. You go from the low bar to the high bar. I competed it with a half turn, and then my coach said, try it with a half. And so I did it. So it was actually a skill that I and my coach worked on for about 5 years. And so it was a very long process. And you know, it was a bucket list thing, to be honest, to have a skill named after me. So a really cool skill, and a really cool experience. And ultimately it taught me, you know, it's more than just, oh, you have a skill named after you. It took 5 years to kind of work through that. And then of course all the nerves to compete it and everything like that. So again, cool experience.
Cool. It's off the charts. Fantastic. And thank you again for joining us here on this Thursday evening and joining QCTV, as this has been rare. I think Ryan, producer, I had tried to date back to maybe even 2000, if that's the previous time that they've tried to have one. So we are excited, hey, you could jump in and help us out and bring your brand here to this event. Next up for this rotation, as we give you the scores on the rotation here, those of you listening at home can also join it on an app as well. rebelsgymnastic.org. And getting ready, rebelsgymnastics.org will get you set. First approaching now on the vault. A good look there for Kazarek, Peyton Kazarek, who scored a 6.25.
Yeah, and overall she had a really great run into her vault. As you saw, she kind of did a half on, half off, and landed it pretty well too.
Kazarek coming in on the vault, best this year of 8.45. We'll see what the numbers are when that shakes out. And next up is Olivia Retram. Oh, she's going right for the second. Thank you.
So if you're just tuning on, individuals on the vault get 2 vaults, and so they ultimately get the opportunity to take that second vault if they want it. So some athletes will do a vault, they'll see the score and they say, yep, I'm good to go, I don't need to do that second vault. But most athletes will take that opportunity to take that second vault, and they can either compete the same vault or they can choose a different vault to compete.
Do they need to go immediately after the first one?
They do not, no. So typically the judges, you know, they'll be kind of totaling up the scores, tallying that a little bit. Ultimately, once the judge is ready and they kind of raise their hand, the athlete will salute, and then they have 30 seconds to compete.
Olivia on her first vault, and by the way, Kazarek scored an 8.50. That's Olivia, who just finished that run.
Yeah, and overall, I would say she had a lot more power in this vault. Unfortunately, that did result in a larger step, which is something that the judges will take a peek at and potentially take more execution for. But overall, two solid vaults.
There's Blaine, Andover. Press here and a little extra step. And we'll see what that scores. And we talked about sections also coming up quickly, because you've got Forest Lake, Anoka, Cambridge, Elk River, and Blaine, Andover, all competing for that spot in the state tournament. And Forest Lake, some great performance last year, and of course Cambridge as well. So 8.40 score for Olivia. Step up now, the third is Abby Bloomquist.
That was a really great landing. As you see, when she landed, she did not move her feet. So we would call that a stick.
Stuck the landing is that type of thing, and wow.
So again, half on, half off, finds that landing, and then salutes.
I think it would be so difficult to try to get that balance when you're coming in. The velo and then the height. I love this year when they finally track the height, like with Simone. and you could actually see
Yes.
it. I've been to many meets at the U, and I love watching how you would elevate.
Yeah.
And I like, how high are they actually going? Second vault.
So as you can see in this one, she actually added a half twist. So she did that first vault, she stuck it, she felt good about it, and they said, let's try something harder. And so she goes half on, full twist, is a little bit short to the full, but still a great opportunity for her to try a harder vault. And maybe we'll see that kind of towards the end here with some of their final meets.
How often do you see that happen when they do make, say, decide, hey, I'm going to go with version 2 or
yeah, that's a great
run?
question. I really think it kind of depends on where the athlete is at and kind of where the team is at. You know, often, sometimes the coaches or the athlete will want to play it a little safe, and they'll want to do the vault that they know that they'll hit consistently. But maybe they're working on something else that they'd like to see later on as well.
Grace, excuse me, that Zoe Klein with the run. And the vault on her first.
Yeah, and if you watch in the air, her feet and her legs are glued together. That's a big thing that the judges are looking for as well. Again, you know, these vaults happen in a blink of an eye, but there's a lot of things that the judges are looking for, from shoulder placement to form in the air to how they land to how far they are from the table. There's a lot that goes into some of these things, but leg form is a big one, and she executes it very nicely. Again, nice air, or legs in the air. Did have a little bit of a hop there, so just had a little bit extra power, which is something we'd rather see, you know, overpowering than underpowering. But it is still something that the judges will get you on.
And a set here for another run, and that is Grace Vassell. She has had an outstanding season. As we get ready for those scores as well.
And something that you can see as well is these athletes are actually landing in something that we call a blind landing. So it's something that they don't really get a chance to see the ground. They kind of just have to feel for it.
The second vault, that looked pretty pure, pretty solid.
Pretty close. It was almost a stick. She did shuffle her feet just a little bit. But overall, again, it's a difficult landing to stick, as it is kind of called that blind landing.
Looks like an 8.7 on that vault for Grace. Impressive. The scores continue to improve as we proceed here. All across the way as we get ready now as compilation of those scores. So we'll get a look and see what Blaine Andover team score was as a result of their 5 vaults. Overall, those should be coming up here in just a moment. Some impressive scores. We're going to move now to the bars as Champlin Park gets ready, and they're in their final warm-up routines on the bar. And any one of these would be difficult. Which one would you find the most challenging? Which of these rotations?
Like the events?
Yeah, the events itself, what you see would be?
The most nerve-wracking, I'm going to have to say, is the bounce beam, which we'll see that later on in the rotations. And I'll add a few fun facts about that. But ultimately, the bounce beam is about 4 inches wide. So if you actually take your phone and you turn it kind of hamburger ways, it's like smaller than that. So these athletes are kind of walking on that bounce beam 4 feet high up as well. So that is definitely the one. I don't think the nerves ever go away. It's always a nerve-wracking event on that one. So I'd have to say the bounce beam.
The balance beam, yep. I still, to me, I'm always astounded by hey, the mindset of gymnasts, and especially sometimes on that beam of when you fall and thinking, oh my gosh, don't fall again. But I know through someone next to me here also who is on the beam and in the Hall of Fame at the University of Minnesota for the beam, just says, hey, it's all repetition. We do so many reps that you get a feel for what feels right. And it just seems like a very, how should we say, counter normal that have that positivity to think, all right, I got this one. I've done it right 99 times, and that was just a blip on the radar. So to me, I applaud the gymnast for that mindset that you have to go in with.
Yes, I would say gymnastics, especially when you're competing, I mean, you have the skills, right? You can't do any more reps in that sense, and then it just turns almost all to mindset. And so there's, some other things that gymnasts can struggle with too, such as mental blocks and some other, mental challenges, even in, the approaching a competition and feeling the pressure and then changing things and whatnot there. So, having a good mindset is also really key to any sport, I would say, but then also particular to gymnastics as well.
Getting ready here as a final warm-up. And they reset. So Natalie Campus on the bars here for Champlin Park, and the finish there as she couldn't quite get the grip, and that the hands have to get chewed up when you're on that bar like that.
Yes. You definitely develop a lot of calluses for sure. So it did look like she, something didn't feel quite right, had to kind of hop off the bars there, but was still able to finish that routine.
Natalie, a senior, and we're getting ready for Nora Rakowski, a freshman, next up. On the bars, as you got to look at that replay. She has a few years experience in rec gymnastics and has worked hard to upgrade to add skills. Getting ready for that score, but it's been a pretty good pace, pretty good move here on this Thursday evening. 10 scores. Just it's unbelievable. We'll get back to that here because I know it's coming to you as we get Nora Rakowski here on the bars. And gets ready for the final land here. And
really a nice dismount for her there. It was a little bit closer to the bar, but again, it was a good routine.
Just some strong, raw arm strength needed on the bars, and to me, when you're working out, is it a day for like skills specific, and then a day for strength, or how did, like when you're at the U of M, how do they break those days up?
Yeah, it's kind of you're doing everything all the time, I would say. So typically, we had a certain amount of time like on each of the events that you're kind of training the events and the skills. There's also drills and strength for the skills. Then there's also, cardio and conditioning at the end. And so it's kind of all just sprinkled out or sprinkled, around.
Sure.
All the time that you're working out. So in college gymnastics specifically, you actually you're capped out at 20 hours a week to train, which typically in clubs, that will be higher that these athletes are working out.
You're seeing Teresa Ung here. Bars. She is a senior, as I mentioned, one of the captains of the Rebels team. Good land.
I would call that a stick.
Very nice with that. And so when you're seeing them making the rotation over the top of the bar, I know, hey, key thing is to keeping those legs together on those, correct?
Yes. Again, so kind of talking about bars, there are different requirements that these athletes need to complete to get a higher start value before the execution score gets deducted. And one of the biggest things that these judges are looking for on the bars is kind of flowing through the bars and kind of having continuous movement, and then also leg form, or kind of form in the air. So legs together, legs straight, toes pointed, kind of all the things.
Finalizing, looking for the score before they begin here on, take place from Ung. Schumacher gets ready here, and that is Ophelia Schumacher. She's a freshman. And she can really swing the bars cleanly and has worked hard to add her switch glide.
Which that was at the beginning of her routine, and as you can see, she was really flowing through this entire routine, and that's really what the judges are looking for, and even had a really controlled landing as well. So again, this is the skill that she's been working really hard on, which you kind of switch your grip and turn around and catch the bar again. So it's definitely a challenging skill. You also have to focus on keeping your legs up off of the ground. So if you touch the ground, then that would be a fall, which is a 5/10 deduction. So you have to have a lot of core to keep those up. And again, looking at that dismount, her feet didn't move, which is a big thing that the judges are looking for.
Impressive bar routine. And we'll see what the score for Ophelia is here. We'll take a look online. They flashed it just one way here, but we've got Keely Koonsman, a freshman. Swings a routine similar to Ophelia, but adds a clear hip. Swings with a nice flow, solid connections.
So it looks like she was supposed to go to the high bar. It's called a squat on. She did kind of fall back, but she recovered, just kind of added an extra kip in there, and then kept moving forward.
Good strong landing. A little bit of a step. Well, we'll see what those scores roll as we get ready to wrap up on rotation number 2. There's work their way through, and those scores will get you. Remind me when we come back. Also, you're able to see them online as well. That comes to you from the Champlin Park Rebels Gymnastics online as well. So let's do this. Let's step away. We'll take a break. Back in a few minutes because we're going to start up when we return with Blaine Andover, who will be on the varsity or the floor exercise. And that's coming your way here shortly. Thanks for joining us. More high school gymnastics from Champlin Park High School coming your way in a moment.
Cold weather can be frightful, but the winter events that Champlin has planned are certainly delightful. Hey, let's check in with the new Winter 2024 edition of the Champlin Chronicle. Mayor Ryan Sabas starts each issue with his Mayor's Corner section. Hey, and just a friendly reminder to check out his monthly Lunch with the Mayor segment that can be found right here on QCTV. The first big winter event in Champlin is the Christmas at the Crossings. Champlin's Christmas at the Crossings will be held on Friday, December 6th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Champlin, Mississippi Crossings Event Center. For the full list of events, check out Champlin's Facebook page, and you can also check in on this edition of the Champlin Chronicle. The Frostbite 500 Trout Ice Fishing Contest returns on February 8th. The event runs from 8 to 11 a.m. Get ready to register for this annual event on January 7th. Registration will be open at 10 a.m. on Champlin's website. Hey, if you're looking to get out and get some fresh air, Expedition Yeti returns on January 30th. Stay tuned to Champlin's website and its social media pages for info on this family-friendly event coming soon. All this and much more can be found in the brand new edition of the Champlin Chronicle. For coverage on upcoming Champlin events, be sure to stay tuned to QCTV.
Hi, I'm Tom Goodrich, founder of Fishing for Life. Looking for a meaningful way to engage your employees? Our REI program offers corporations the chance to make a difference while fostering teamwork and connection. We're mobile, so we come to you and we bring everything you need. Together, your team will rebuild thousands of rods and reels, giving them a second life. These aren't just fishing rods, they're tools of hope, ready to be given to kids and veterans who need them most. Make your next corporate event truly impactful. Visit fishingforlife.org to schedule your team's volunteer experience today. Together, we can make a difference. One cast, one connection, one life at a time.
Welcome back, Champlin Park High School. On a Thursday night, we get a chance to be joined by Lexi Rambler, as of course, a tremendous career at the University of Minnesota, and doing some work also at the Big Ten Network, also working with Polaris at this time. And what exactly are you doing with Polaris? Marketing?
No, I'm not in marketing. I'm actually in HR. So I'm a part of their rotational development program. So ultimately, it's a 3-year rotation. Each year, I get a different experience kind of within the field, and then I'll roll off kind of next year. So that's what I've been up to. Busy.
So that's it. So getting some updates here. That sounds very intriguing, and. We were looking at the scores as well, because Blaine, Andover, their highest bar score of the season was 30.75. And then meanwhile for Vault, the team score, I think, 33.87. So kind of seeing them hit that next gear in scores here. Coming up, we have the app, but the app has given us the Champlin Park scores. Not quite the others. And we'll tabulate those for you here as they get through. And on the vault as a whole, it looks like it was an 8.75, one of the top for Vassal, for Blaine, Andover. Vassal also the high score on the beam, on the bars rather, at 8.7.
Yeah, and I think something that these athletes are really looking for is just continuous improvement as well. Obviously the scores matter, and they want big scores. Typically looking for scores within 8, 8.5, 9 is a really big score as well. But I think these athletes are really focused on just improving each meet. And so if they start out with a 7.0 and then the next meet they get a 7.2, that's great. Like that's a big win for these athletes, and that's really something that they should be focusing on, is just the continual improvement of their performance and their skills, and as well as their confidence as well.
Chance here as both teams just finishing up their warm-ups. So on the bars, it was a 37.925 for Blaine. Andover, again, in the 7th, they have yet to make it to the state tournament. So That is something they've been kind of trying to set as a goal. For first up now, here we go on the floor. Peyton Kazarek.
And similar to the other events, kind of when we're looking at floor, they will have specific requirements that they're kind of looking to achieve as well. So you'll see them do some dance and some turns. You'll also see them kind of tumbling, which will be kind of, going from corner to corner as well. I think something that I really enjoy on the floor is it gives the athletes the opportunity to really bring out their personality. You'll see some routines are maybe a little bit more serious, some are a little bit more fun and upbeat, but again, it really, athletes get to kind of choose it and what they feel comfortable with and confident in performing.
Love the music. That's always, each time I hear the music, I think that's got to be my wake-up music in the mornings. Good finish. And set there, so Peyton Gazarek is in the books. Hers is completed.
Also, something challenging for floor is it takes a lot of cardio. It's not just skill, but these athletes are kind of going all out with this, a minute to minute 30 routine. And so something that they really have to work on is building up their cardio and their endurance in order to make sure that they're able to perform the routine to their full potential from start to finish.
I find this, this event to be so explosive on the floor exercise. Wow. And it's just like on the vault.
Yes.
When they elevate. And a couple of these just phenomenal. And it seems like the floor is sometimes more natural for some than others in terms of.
Yeah. I think that's the fun thing about gymnastics, and as well as like competing as a team. There's going to be some athletes that are going to be stronger on some events versus others, and they really get to highlight that strength.
Next up here is Jada Bonson.
Going for her first pass here. Really nice round off handspring tuck. They're really looking for is kind of the control on those landings. So she had a little bit of a hop, but overall it was a great control.
8.3 for Bonson.
Really nice second pass there. Again, that was her turn skill, so each athlete is required to do a turn. Getting ready for her last pass. A front through to handspring. Really nice routine.
Well done. Well, look, there is also just a kind of a nice to note is for the record, the teams Champlin Park over the past 10 years is 8-2 versus Blaine Andover, and their last victory coming in 2022, where Champlin Park scored a 128 and Blaine scored a 113. But I'll tell you, Ashley Howard has really brought some swag into that coaching and also with the athletes, and she's done an excellent job developing that Blaine Andover program as we get ready here for number 3. And this is Bloomquist, Abby Bloomquist.
Really nice first pass. Lots of power as you saw her. She kind of sprung out of that first pass there. Into her leaps. Really nice combination there. So that's a punch front, punch front. It's like a more challenging combination. Getting ready for her last pass here. Even added a little straddle jump.
Nice.
Nice routine from Abby there. Definitely a strong routine for this team as well. She had a little bit more difficulty than we've seen quite yet. And so really great to see that.
By the way, Abby Bloomquist, who just completed, I stand corrected, it was Zoe Klein who went second there for Blaine Andover on that. She picked up, Klein picked up a 7.65 on her floor exercise. And that leaves us now with Olivia Retram.
Again, you can see that straddle jump at the end there. Fun little thing. So at this time, the judges are kind of talking together. So ultimately, when they first kind of so there's two judges. So they'll kind of look at, look at the routine, kind of come up with their scores. They'll kind of flash the scores to each other, and they'll take a peek at them. And if there's a score difference that's way off, they'll actually take some time to kind of meet. And so they'll talk through, see kind of if they were missing something, and kind of figure out a score that makes sense versus having a score that's 5/10 off. Clearly something got missed there. So they just talk through that, but it does provide kind of a challenging environment for the athlete that's waiting. She has to kind of stand there and try to stay calm, try to stay warm. And so it's a little bit of a challenge.
You saw Olivia standing there. What you didn't see is in the middle there they had the judges conferring. I actually thought they were talking about me. Maybe I'm just paranoid.
They're
but
tuning in too.
Maybe some etiquette thing that I did wrong here. So, but now we're going to look at Olivia Retram. An 8th grader is Olivia.
Going for her first pass here. A round off full. And you also see kind of that mat that's on the floor. So that's called a sting mat. And there is no deduction for that. So that ultimately it provides just a little bit of cushion for these athletes. So there's not as much kind of wear and tear on their bodies. Going into her next pass here. Again, a challenging combination between that punch front, right into her last pass of a round off handspring layout. Really nice routine for this team as well.
Like a very strong close on the floor this year at 8.70 for Olivia. And looks like that weight didn't push her back too much. You were going to make
She
a
knew
comment.
how to handle it. Yeah.
Wow.
Again, looking at that punch front. And what makes it so difficult is that you're ultimately rebounding right away into that next skill. There's no pause. There's no waiting. So the key thing is to really stay tight on that pass. Looking at our last pass, front off handspring layout. Again, controlled landings. Very nice to see.
And now, final floor for Blaine Andover is Grace Vassell.
Really great first pass from there. I don't know if you could hear it, but the team cheered really loud. So definitely a bigger, more difficult pass.
For a junior, sparks her teammates.
Really nice second pass there as well. She actually did a front handspring, front full. Again, a difficult pass as well. Beautiful leaps. So in those leaps, the judges are ultimately looking for that 180 split. So that's something that they'll be looking for, control, and also leg form. And she had beautiful legs in the air. Her last pass. Nice round off full. Really great routine.
Wow. Very confident with conviction performance by the junior. Unbelievable. So the scoring after the first couple of rotations was an 82.9 lead here for Blaine Andover versus the 59.65 for Champlin Park. And you're listening also, by the way, that voice sounds familiar. That is, it's Lexi Berglund Rambler. Just married last year?
Yeah, well, this past August, so yes.
Looking for that final score.
So a 9, anything above the 9.0 is a really big score, something really to get excited about. And so Grace had I believe a 9.4 on that. So really, really great to see that. I'm sure she's excited. I'm sure her team is excited as well.
Yeah, some impressive numbers for Blaine Andover with that 9.4 by Vassell kind of hitting those numbers. And then meanwhile, we're going to go to beam as they begin with varsity in the midst of a warm-up, I believe, is Champlin Park. The order will go Rakowski, Shoemaker, Chelsea Ung, and Teresa Ung, followed by Keely Koonsman.
And we kind of talked about it earlier, but beam is a really challenging event. It's also really nerve-wracking. I would say each of the events that these athletes will perform has its own challenges, but beam in particular takes a lot of bounce, right? So you're on a 4 feet or a 4-inch wide. I want to say it's a piece of wood, but it has some cushion on it as well. And then you're 4 feet up in the air too. So there's a lot of bounce that goes into it, kind of a lot of courage, I would say, as well, as they're jumping in the air, right? They'll do some, flips and twists and lots of different things on this event. So definitely one that brings about a lot of nerves for sure.
Max, if you can. If we were talking about the beam and the difficulty, again, Joe Rulin joined along here with Lexi Rambler. And Lexi, let's be honest, 4 10s in the beam for you. I've got all these stats on you, and Kath wouldn't allow me yet. I just enjoyed seeing this. It's amazing. 4 10s on the beam.
Yes.
On a 4-inch piece, that's probably the size, the width of our cell phone. But a lot of work what event did you find as the most rewarding of all of them that you've done?
I would say the beam is so, there's so much nerves. I mean, every single time, maybe it looked like I was really confident, but there was nerves. I was having butterflies in my belly the entire time. So I think just knowing how difficult that event is and how perfect you have to be or make it look perfect, beam was definitely one that I have a lot of, very proud, I guess, in my performance.
Oh, major kudos. You also have a 10 on a vault as well previously. And with that, but you got started at Winona. You went to Winona High School. When did you really know gymnastics was something you wanted to stick with?
Well, I actually started gymnastics when I was about 4 years old, so I did it at a very young age. My dad was building the house, and I ultimately climbed on everything, and so they put me in gymnastics because it was a safer place to be. And after that, I just I fell in love with it, and I stuck with it ever since.
Hey, Max, thanks for that shot. It looks like Champlin Park about ready. And I'll tell you, no one better in the business, and Lexi, than having your insight here as you watch and you get things just identified in terms of how they execute and the moves and a great delivery. So I'm glad you're with us here tonight, and thanks for joining us.
Absolutely excited to be here.
We've got this left, this rotation of this event done yet, and then we can go right to the beam here as they get ready to roll across. Thanks, Max, for doing the favorite thing, pivot right with that camera. And marking in there. Congratulations also on Carlson School of Business. That is quite an accomplishment. That's a great program.
Yes, it absolutely is.
And to get into that, some amazing academic strength as well. So we are set, getting ready, I believe, for the first beam opportunity in Nora Rakowski.
And again, in these, in each of the routines and events, they do have a specific set of requirements that they, need, are looking or aspiring to attain. So looking on beam, there's a turn that they need. They need an acro flight, kind of a dance or acro series. And then also they'll end with a dismount as well. So again, as I kind of alluded to earlier, this beam is 4 inches wide, so it's really tricky to stay on the beam. So unfortunately, she did have a fall there, but like I said, it's hard. Also something to note, if an athlete does kind of, step off the beam or fall, they do have 30 seconds to kind of collect their thoughts, do anything that they need to do to kind of get prepped mentally to be able to jump back on. Again, that was her turn that she needed to complete for a requirement. Oh, so close.
Hey, you get right back up and at it, right? You have to.
Great opportunity to show her flexibility on this event as well. I think that's something that I enjoy about gymnastics, is it really gives the opportunity for athletes to highlight, some things that they're really great at. So it's always fun to see that too.
We'll check on the score here for that first one. The next up is going to be Ophelia. Ophelia Shoemaker will be next up. She's a freshman. We mentioned a very young Champlin Park squad. Her routine showcases her tensile strength and flexibility with a series of holds and balances. A nice Y scale. She wants to get a wolf turn and has an outside bet with the coach whether she can get a Humphrey by her senior year.
There you go.
Also closer to the walkover series and the side aerial. One of the hardest beam skills in this coach's opinion. So again, as sections start coming up, postseason, really a chance for them to hone in on those skills on each of their routines. And just about ready here.
Again, it can be a challenge to kind of be waiting to perform. Take your turn to stand and kind of wait and not exactly know when to go, and maybe the judge will salute soon, otherwise I got to stay warm, or what should I be thinking about?
Right.
There's a lot of things that can be going on in an athlete's head as well.
5'9" there for Champlin Park. First on the beam. So up on the beam now and underway is Ophelia. My apologies, this is Nora. See some of the moves there, and Nora tries to settle.
I can see her smiling through this. It's always fun to see athletes, you know, smile through it. It can be kind of a stress reliever too, but it just kind of shows that they're enjoying what they're doing as well. Really nice dismount. She looks excited.
Cartwheel connection series. He said she has been sticking it 2 of the last 3. It looks like she stuck that now 3 of the last 4 competitions for Nora.
That's a really big confidence booster as well. I think about, you know, with gymnastics too, it's about consistency. And so for her to be able to have, you know, be able to hit that, you know, meet after meet, that should just build her confidence, especially going into this later half of the season as well.
So Ophelia, the first to go. They got her at a 5'9". Score, we'll wait on the score here from Nora. What did you like about Nora's performance?
Honestly, I really appreciated the smiles that she had.
It just seems like most of the times, you know, hey,
really
collegially that comes
nerve-wracking.
Batteries included as a default. Is that right? Did you find yourself, did a smile just kind of give you that good mindset?
It reminded me just to enjoy, right? It's a really fun gymnastics. It can be, there's all sorts of nerves. There's so much that goes into the sport. But after I would typically on beam finish my series, I would let out a smile, a little bit of, it was a stress reliever, like, okay, I got that one out of the way. But also then it just kind of helped me relax, really just kind of be in the present, and just enjoy what you're doing.
You know, I always find it so nerve-wracking when, you know, I go to the meets and I got the U, and you have so many other outliers on the outside. Some hooting, some hollering, some cheers, and just to kind of keep that focus.
Yes, that's also half
so
the battle.
Difficult
as well, is to really be in the present. Oftentimes it can be easy if you make a mistake, you fall. It's easy to get kind of stuck on that and like, oh my gosh, I just fell. And often these athletes really just have to put it in the past and just focus on the present. It can be really challenging.
Chelsea Young is up, the freshman. A nice crisp style to her beam work. She gets into a confident rhythm and competes a twisting leap series, cartwheel leap series, and a front tuck dismount.
Nice cartwheel there. Some smiles there as well.
There you go. Gotta have it.
That was a wolf jump to a wolf jump with a front tuck dismount. As you can see, she ended with her chest up really high too, which is great. Love to see that.
Yeah. You mentioned, is it the ending with that chest high? And in that end, why is that such a difficult challenge? Speaking for me with no experience with it, but you referenced it a couple of times, finishing with that chest high.
Yeah, I would say ultimately it just shows the experience that athletes have. You know, sometimes it's just in how they're kind of rotating through the air and not just letting their chest go down. So I really think it just shows the control that they have in these skills, and that's ultimately what the judges are looking for. Kind of, do they make it look easy? Do they, you know, execute it beautifully? And then do they have control kind of throughout the sport as well?
That was Teresa Ung as we wait to get her score. And now we're set for Keely. Excuse me, this will be Teresa Ung. Teresa Young, senior for Ung, who's worked hard to upgrade her flexibility and confidence. With the Leap Series, also does a triple Leap Series to take advantage of the high school league's new ruling to allow a superior or high school skill in the middle.
Also see some smiles from her as well. That triple jump series was right there. Oftentimes with those series too, what the judges are looking for is a consistent movement. So they could have a potential break in connection if they go jump, stop, jump. But she moved all the way through. So I believe, you know, the judges would connect all three of those. Oh, so close. Again, that one is a tricky jump as well because they jump in the air, they twist, and then they have to land back on the beam. So, as well as landing on the beam sideways. So.
Oh. There's two other higher difficulty skills as two sets of back-to-back superiors here. So 2/10 in the bonus as you get ready for that dismount here.
A nice dismount again. Had control. Did take a little bit of a step there, but definitely one of the more difficult dismounts that we've seen tonight so far.
Wow. I just think you get close to that end, you're ready. your mind is on that dismount, and a little stumble. Man, you just got to wash that clean.
Yeah, it's really easy kind of as you get towards the end of the routine to be like, okay, I just want to get off. I just want to rush through it. And unfortunately, that's where some mistakes can happen. And so kind of talked about it earlier, but the importance of just staying in the present, kind of where you're at, is a big challenge for athletes. But if athletes can kind of figure that out and know what works for them, it can definitely be a competitive advantage for them.
Keely Kuzman, freshman here, will be the last to go. One of her nicknames is Coldest, and she has a remarkable hit percentage when we're short on event time and we go to that approach. So apparently best when she's cold. Does a rock and roll cartwheel series and is solid on the beam with a best of 7.625 as we see her.
That was a good fight there as well. So you did see kind of when she landed, she brought her chest down a little bit so that it would be a deduction, an execution deduction. But I think what's really important is that she really fought to stay on the beam too. She didn't just, you know, jump off or anything like that. And so that's really important as well. Unfortunately, looked like she was a little off in that cartwheel there, so did have to jump off the side of the beam or, you know, take that fall. But again, you know, something that is important to kind of work through now, I guess, right before kind of going into championship season.
Rebels with their last member here on this rotation, the fifth, Keely Kunzman, on the beam. Dismount there, just caught it just a little bit short, but the
Yeah,
freshman
unfortunately,
certainly-
I think she's a little bit disappointed with that. Obviously not her best, but something that hopefully she can just get back into the gym and continue to work on those little things, and kind of get ready for the next meets as well.
You got it. So, hey, one final rotation is left here. Meanwhile, tabulations right now, the score after 3 rotations, 66. Okay, so just got an update. So after the first 2 rotations, 66.30 to 59.65. And we're going to tabulate those, but stand corrected after 2 complete rotations, 66.30 to 59.65. We're going to tabulate what just transpired for both of these teams on the beam and the floor in return for that 4th rotation here. And we get a chance, if we want to keep it here, we also get a chance here on the beam. Here is one of the competitor very proud of as well, has been the Molly Kappas, who has Down syndrome and competes under. I just want to keep it here while she is on the beam and competes under the General Adaptive Curriculum of the HUDS program developed by USGA. We spoke with John briefly before this meet. I wanted to make sure we at least captured a couple of events with Molly, showing her skills. Working hard she is to develop their basic and work towards gaining difficulty and getting towards more of those superior and high superior skills to keep inching closer to full difficulty. There you see her on the beam. Good work there for Molly.
Such a fun thing as well, as you know, I don't think you can fully see right now, but the other team is even over there too. So really cool to see just the, you know.
Yeah, if you went wider here,
support.
yeah, you'd see a chance there to see that the Blaine Andover team supporting her as well, right on the sideline. Very nice. And the dismount. Hey, call out and a congratulations to Molly Kappas and her performance on the beam here on this Thursday night. We're going to return more and with the 4th and final rotation here on QCTV as we return here in just a few minutes. Thanks.
It's time to lace up those skates because outdoor skating in Champlin is now open for 2025. That's right, outdoor rinks and warming houses are now open, weather permitting. Lights for the warming houses will turn on at dusk. But hey, let's rewind for just a second, just to see how Champlin Public Works creates the ice for these rinks. First off, the trucks drive out. Spreading water evenly across the ground, which creates thin layers of ice. After some fine tuning, presto, you have outdoor skating rinks. Here are a few locations that will be open for outdoor skating. list of outdoor rinks, weather updates, and hours of operation, be sure to follow the City of Champlin on social media as well as their website. We cannot wait to see you out on the ice.
Every person is entitled to 30 fundamental rights. And you need only to do one thing to enjoy all 30 of them. Know them. Get your free human rights booklet today. Go to humanrights.com.
Welcome back. Hey, Mark in the studio doing an excellent job. Max on the camera as well. Tremendous. As hey, we are ready for the fourth, getting ready anyway, for that fourth and final rotation. But after 3 complete, this is unofficial by Joe Scores, but I have right now Blaine Andover at 98.75 and Champlin Park at 86.85. As we head to this final rotation, which will be the beam for Blaine Andover. They will go first. And then followed by the floor for Champlin Park and the Rebels. And we've kind of seen some of these young ladies kind of try maybe some moves outside their comfort zone, which is great. Maybe try to get that and then tighten it up in time for sections.
Yeah, overall, I mean, the meets kind of before the larger meets, so sections and state, is really just about building confidence and getting it better and improving at each meet. So again, you know, scores obviously matter in the bigger meets, but I would say what's more important is just the continuous of, you know, building confidence and growing their skills and kind of just performance in general, and just discovering, hey, what do I need to do to be ready to compete? And that's, you know, another big thing is just enjoying it and having fun as well.
Oh, have to. Hey, the highest beam score this year for Blaine Andover has been 35.55. Highest beam score in conference play, 32.6. Meanwhile, on the floor, which they just finished, our highest floor score in the conference, 33.125. They finished the floor here at 32.45. And meanwhile, the highest floor score had been 36.3. So you're seeing you talk about progress, and that's it's more of a realistic goal versus perfection.
Yes, absolutely.
And so you're seeing that progress this season for this Blaine Andover squad. Again, they're 8-2 over the last 2 years versus Champlin Park. And certainly Coach John also had talked about the youth here, and I believe we're getting ready to get started here on the beam. For Andover, or excuse me, Blaine Andover with Bella Hang.
Nice jump connection there for her. Again, what makes that tricky is she's jumping and twisting in the air and then landing sideways. Also just saw a back handspring, which is definitely more of a challenging skill.
By the way, this is Peyton Gozeric.
Nice combination there. Cartwheel swing.
Yeah, looked pretty good under control, pretty balanced for the sophomore.
Yes. Again, there's a lot of nerves that can come with the bounce beam, but she handled them very nicely.
Next up is going to be Abby Bloomquist for Blaine Andover. She's a sophomore. So still a lot of youth in this Blaine Andover squad, with a lot of the sophomores and freshmen out there as well for this team. You had mentioned at the beginning, it's good to have one or two solid gymnasts, but you really need to have some depth as well.
Yes, that's really important, is having that depth. There's also a lot of value of, having a lot of experience on the team as well. Individuals who have been, on the team for a few years know what it's like to handle that pressure and have the opportunity to share that with teammates as well.
Just underway here. Second. Jada Bonson.
Nice combination there. Cartwheel to round off. Challenging jump there as she's facing sideways and does a straddle jump.
Another sophomore here for Blaine Andover.
Really challenging this one as well. We haven't seen that one. So really great difficulty in that routine for Jada.
Finish it up. We'll get a look at those scores across. And meanwhile, now Abby Bloomquist gets ready. And Abby Bloomquist, everyone so far here on this event, a sophomore that has participated for Blaine Andover. We'd mentioned at the outset that Blaine Andover currently ranked number 21 in the state here for Class 2A. Also mentioned, and they're out of 7 AA, is Cambridge Isanti. They are number 5, followed by Elk River Zimmerman, currently ranked 10th. And then, of course, Anoka. Call outs to Anoka, the 16th state in the state right now. So again, we said at the beginning, tough sections here for Blaine and Andover coming up as Ophelia gets set.
Again, sometimes the waiting game can be such a challenge for these athletes.
Oh, that would be just a challenge.
Again, kind of talked about it earlier, but the mental and the mindset that kind of it takes to perform in this sport as well is a big key thing to competing.
Steps up here and
leap jump combination there. Nice turn. There's a good save there as well. Again, a big thing that we, would be looking for these athletes is just to fight to stay on the beam. Sometimes athletes, you'd be way off and there's like, oh, there's no way that I'd be able to save that. But having a fight to stay on staying on the beam is a big deal as well. And she executed that dismount very nicely. We would call that a stick where her feet didn't move.
yeah, that was pretty solid. Excellent there on that stick for the land, and we'll get the numbers as well for Ophelia, but Teresa Ong is up next. Or excuse me, not Teresa, but Chelsea. Yes. No, we're set here with beam there is Olivia. Grace, I was going to ask you at the Japan Olympics, they had talked, and we talked about the touch in the warm-ups. And there was some concern about the lack of time to touch or shorter amount of time for warm-up in those Olympics in Japan, in which they kind of expedited that time or shortened it, and kind of, everything is about routine. right? And
Yes.
really kind of disrupted of a lot of those gymnasts.
Yeah, typically athletes, so ultimately they kind of come in, they warm up, and then they, have a quick little touch, and typically they know that, oh, I get 10 seconds to get warm and kind of feel the beam again. And so if that can get changed, sometimes that can impact definitely a mental mindset going into the performance as
Olivia
well.
on the beam here.
A really nice jump combination there as well. She connected that really smoothly. Cartwheel to round off combination. Nice full turn.
And yeah.
She actually does a back walkover into her dismount. I think something that I also enjoy about gymnastics is that there are so many skills that athletes are able to perform and kind of work and train. And some skills come easier for other athletes than others, and they can perform that. So really, able to bring out, again, individuals' strengths and skills, bring that individuality to all of these performances.
Yeah, nice job. An 8th grader, Olivia, has had a pretty good performance overall here tonight for Blaine. Andover as Grace Vassal will be the final Blaine gymnast on the beam here tonight.
Can always be nerve-wracking being that last gymnast as well.
And not to be the pessimist, but sometimes you see other gymnasts who are challenging on the beam, and unfortunately some of that seems like it can be contagious if you're that last one, even though you may be very strong on that beam. But nice, very nice.
Really nice back tuck there. Definitely one of the difficult skills that we've seen here tonight. Cartwheel to round off combination.
Yeah, Grace had an 8.7 on the bars to begin things. 9.4 on the floor, and so far pretty strong performance thus far on the beam.
Nice leap jump combo there. Something to note when she's kind of in the air, she has a beautiful toe point and a beautiful leg extension. And that's definitely something that the judges are looking for as well. And a nice dismount. Just a little step there, but I think overall she's probably relieved.
A little too much power.
Yes.
On that dismount, but excellent overall. I'm excited to see her score. And that concludes all the performances here. They're going to go with JV now on the beam, and we'll get that final score and the team score for you as well here momentarily for Blaine Andover, and move to that final rotation, which will be Champlin Park on the floor. And at the conclusion of this, we'll ask you to hang with us as we just get you the final results before we dismount, shall we say, from this broadcast for the end of it. And final warm-ups here taking place for Champlin Park. Participating in this floor exercise will be Chelsea Young, Nora Rakowski, Ophelia Shoemaker, followed by Teresa Young and Keely Koonsman, the freshman.
Yeah, and something that I really enjoy about the floor rotation is it really brings in a lot of different aspects. You have to have power and tumble high and tumble big, but then there's also this part to gymnastics, so actually called artistic gymnastics, and so really being able to kind of bring in some of the dance and the performance when these athletes are competing. So the floor event really kind of highlights all of those into kind of one performance as well.
Really, yeah. I had not thought of that, but absolutely. And which was the event that you really wanted to close with? Was that consistent, or did you really just kind of know, hey, this is...
That's a great question. I feel like I always enjoyed closing with floor, having that be the last rotation. Typically that is kind of the, ultimately if you're closing on floor, it means you're at home. So you have the home crowd and kind of all the energy. But also, kind of alluded to it earlier, is that floor can take a lot of endurance and cardio. And so it was always nice to get to that event and just be able to give it all that I had left from the net. I saw some of these athletes are competing all around, and so that means that they're competing each of the events. So you might have some individuals that are specialists, so maybe they only compete 1 or 2 events. Maybe it's only bars and beam that they compete, and then there's others that are kind of doing the other events. But for those all-arounders, they're competing on vault, on bars, on beam, and on floor. So it's a really long night for them, and they have to kind of know their body and be able to pace and some of those different things as well.
Well, it's always I enjoy the floor, the beam, all of the rotations. But I thought it was impressive. Hey, when teams kind of catch on, momentum matters. I always believe.
Yes.
And I know you with the Gophers, and you guys made a run to Texas to the Nationals, I believe.
Yeah.
Was that the year? And
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row there. And gosh, that has to be, with the crowds and the noise and that impact. What is that like?
It's such a cool experience. That experience, but then also I remember we went to LSU and Utah, and they have some of the biggest crowds. And I remember just being in the arena, and you could just feel the energy against your body. And it was just I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. But it was a really cool experience. Sometimes it can get so loud that ultimately you just can't hear anything. And then you're trying to remember things and really having to kind of cue in on, oh right, I'm competing, right? Got to be in the present and focus in what you're doing as well. So really cool experience.
Oh, that would be a heck of an experience. Some may be more tense, a little bit more tense with that one, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But getting a run on the floor exercise, we got Ong and
again,
Chelsea
I really
Young.
yes.
Chelsea Young, the 9th freshman, off to a good start.
Yeah, again, floor is one of my favorite events to watch, just because it really allows athletes to bring in their own personality in the event. Sometimes teammates will know each other's dance, and so they get to kind of do it too. And so it's just an overall fun event to watch.
Wow.
Nice front up handspring there. Again, on this event, you'll see a little bit of variety of tumbling passes, which is kind of where they go from corner to corner, to some turns, to then also some leap combinations as well. So there's a lot that goes into this event.
Wow, nice. Hey, you got to have some bounce when you're out there on that floor. And
yes.
That kind of creates that mental bounce when you're out there watching them perform. As the freshman just finished, Chelsea Young. Unofficial total right now, we're looking at for Blaine. Andover's at 132.925. Impressive outing on the beam for Blaine, but now a chance here for Champlin Park to counter, and Nora Rakowski next up on that floor exercise.
Again, judges taking a little bit longer on this one, so they did. So ultimately, again, there's 2 judges. They judge the routines. They kind of flash the scores to each other, and if they're, really off, then they actually take some time to meet and talk about the scoring before they flash the final score. So they just finished that, and now we will have Nora.
Yep, up next here, Nora Rakowski. Another freshman. Her superpower is some front tumbling.
Nice punch front there. Again, a really challenging pass as you're ultimately rebounding right away into the next pass there. Second pass combination. And getting ready for her last pass here. Front handspring, front tuck, forward roll.
Nice.
She's smiling and happy about that. It's always good to see. It's always fun to see kind of the athletes' reactions as well, kind of after they finish their performance.
Wow. Sometimes some relief.
Yeah.
But sometimes for most of them, I'm guessing it's like, yeah, got it, loved it. Next up will be Ophelia Shoemaker. As the trickster, she is close to several skills like an Arabian and a front tuck series. Ophelia can pull standing aerial if called to. So she's been working to clean up the extension in her leaps, which has improved greatly.
Ready for her first pass here. Nice front. I actually saw that in warm-ups and looks like she was struggling with it a little bit, but she was able to make it work. Nice pass there as well with a round up handspring tuck. Getting ready for her last pass here. A round up handspring. There's that aerial that you were talking about earlier.
Nice phase. Wrap it up there as Ophelia will get her score here momentarily. And then Teresa Young, the senior, her sister, a freshman. Chelsea went first. As Teresa, she'll complete two passes of 2 to the tuck in those upgraded Wolf and split leap series she's worked so hard on.
Getting ready for her first pass here. A round off handspring tuck.
Gotta love the music. that has some juice.
I feel like picking out music was always a super hard thing to do.
I'll bet.
Nice second pass, front tuck, forward roll, through to cartwheel. You can see their teammates joining in the dance as well. Getting ready for her last pass here. Again, a round off handspring tuck.
Good, and hey, some good passes along the way. Question, as you look at the performance here from Teresa Ung. Looks there, what was your favorite music that you played for all of your floor exercises?
Oh, my favorite music.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, I don't know. I feel like I liked all of them for different reasons.
Sure.
I don't know if I have a favorite one.
And if you hear it on the radio or wherever on your car, you got to just start busting it out. Yeah. But you better have the seatbelt on.
I don't know if I remember it anymore.
So we have Keely Koonsman, the freshman. Keely Koonsman, the final Rebel tonight here in this meet. She's a freshman, modifying her typical 2 to a tuck. Reduce stress on her knees. She and Bailey are both working fulls but not competing. Her choreography is done by her mom, Jess Bukta. It's reminiscent of college routines.
It's always fun. Right into her next pass here. Getting ready for her last pass. Round off, handspring. I really enjoyed how her teammates were kind of dancing along with her as well.
Right. Good show here, good crowd tonight as the final routine completed and the rotations complete. I wasn't sure if we're going to get a chance to see routine or anything here from any of the others here, as maybe we saw from earlier. Looking to see if Molly is going to come back out, because we'd love to see her back on a routine here on the floor before we get the final scores. And we get some Molly time. Molly Campus, to get a chance, everyone to kind of finalize the scores, and she's got her music going on. Some Molly motivation on the floor.
So fun to see how her team is so engaged.
Yeah, and as we said before on the beam, see Blaine Andover just standing straight up, toes on the line, enjoying watching her on the beam, and they're also doing that from across the way right now. It's a great experience. Congratulations to Molly. Excellent job. Hey, she stuck the landing the whole night long.
Super fun to see.
Getting ready to finalize the score here. We're going to try to get it back also so we can have that on the monitor as well. And well, again, more Big Ten time for you this weekend?
This weekend?
Is there a meet this weekend?
Not
I'm
a
trying
home
to remember
one.
if there,
Nope.
but that is cool. Hey, I've been educated immensely on the process, and you've been excellent to have next to us here and a part of this. Just realized you had 7 Big Ten individual event championships. Does one of these astounding accomplishments and accolades of yours stand out from others? There's one that really
Oh, gosh.
is just, because those are, if I could have a fraction of any of those accomplishments, it's amazing. I was really impressed too with the AEI award, the recipient you received for that one, and that level of acknowledgement of that being like similar to a Heisman Trophy
Yeah.
as those. But and I don't mean to embarrass you by any means, but Lexi, it's an astounding career, and we certainly extremely appreciate
Yeah.
you being part of this broadcast. Certainly up the value with you here, and I know right after this there's a couple of people and teams looking for a Kodak moment. I guess I just aged myself with that comment, but a picture moment with you. And we're just waiting for the final participant here on the beam. That's complete from Blaine. Andover. That was JV competition. As they get ready here to formulate the numbers.
Yeah, I know what you asked which accomplishment I was most proud of or whatnot. And
Yes.
honestly, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's still kind of surreal, you know, especially when you bring them all together. I'm just kind of speechless, I guess.
It's and this is just a fraction. I didn't even get a chance to get through all of them.
Yeah.
And just a fraction as I thought, hey, I can remember a couple of them in our opening, but then I started on a couple and I had to use the script to get back at it.
Yeah, I think something that I was just really proud of is that each year I was able to go to nationals, and then for 2 of those years my team was able to be there as well, which that was something that was, you know, kind of a first for Minnesota Gymnastics, and it was really cool to be a part of that, and to be there, you know, not only as an individual, but to have my team there as well. And again, I think that just it really enjoys just sharing the love of the sport of gymnastics. It's an amazing sport, and just glad that so many of these young athletes are able to share in that love too.
Oh, that is tremendous here. As just waiting here, if we get a second for the final score to be announced. As they all come back out to the mat.
And there's a lot that kind of goes on in gymnastics as well. There's a lot of individual performances, but then there's also this team aspect that kind of plays into all of it as well, and kind of building those skills of being with a team and cheering each other on and all those things too.
Set here as they come to this floor. Matt here to get the final numbers for tonight's competition after 4 complete. And now public address is getting ready to present those final numbers. And as we mentioned, right now they're going through some of the JV scores with, and with each of those events, but we're get a close for you here in just a moment. Bear with us. Thanks for joining on this kind of an inaugural gymnastic launch here for QCTV. And certainly appreciate the opportunity and the time here given to us with Lexi Rambler. And I'll tell you, you have an interesting background, age of 4 at Winona, getting things going. And just, could you ever had comprehended that success that you were about to have by the time, hey, going through club and then through high school? Excuse me, through college. It's, you know, stepping your foot on the campus of the University of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. The success that you are about to have and unleash.
No.
That's tough to predict.
Oh gosh, no, absolutely not. It was definitely something that I was just in the gym and I really just enjoyed what I did. And it was always just, hey, what's next, you know? What's the next thing that I can learn or next thing that I can do, or how can I combine those skills? And so it was always just a joy and a true passion for the sport. So that's ultimately what carried me all the way through, was just the love for it.
The final scores here as they run through. Let's just hit that, and hey, it's been a great Thursday night. First run here at Gymnastics. Max, thanks for your work on the camera. The final, by the numbers calculated here, would be Blaine Andover with a score of 132.925. Champlin Park at 116.325. So it is Blaine Andover that moves now to 6-1 in the conference and probably up their ranking too in the state tournament. And your final thoughts?
Yeah, overall, I mean, I just really enjoyed watching the athletes, and the teams cheer each other on. It was just a blast to watch that tonight, and overall, I wish them the best.
Hey, well, I want to thank you for the time, and also huge contribution. And now, Lexi Rambler, I think there's people who want to meet you on the mat and have some pictures and be taken with you. I'm Joe Rulland along with Lexi Rambler. Thanks for joining us on this QCTV sports presentation on a Thursday night. And girls high school gymnastics, Blaine, Andover, a winner tonight over Champlin Park. Have yourself a major league evening at a minor league price.